Hi everybody, this is Laura, City Scrapper. Thank you so much for joining me on my channel. Today I have a layout that I made using the July My Creative Scrapbook limited edition kit. I am catching up on a number of videos that I filmed and never completed. This is the fourth of 4 videos from July that I am finally completing. For this layout, I used one of the My Creative Scrapbook cut files. These cut files are available to any My Creative Scrapbook subscriber. I cut out a very large version of the cut file, and then I backed it with a number of the papers that were in the July kit. And in July, we got a beautiful collection from 49 and Market called Spectrum Sherbet. I cut the cut file twice, one with the inner cuts and the other one without the inner cuts. At the beginning of the video, I was gluing the form of the cut file that doesn't have the inner cuts to the back of the other cut file that's already backed, and that's just to make the cut file more sturdy because I plan to do some stitching on it. I also cut out yet another one of the cut files, and I cut these words where and are out. I wanted to add a little something to them, so I'm using a stencil that we got in, I'm not sure if it was this kit or a past My Creative Scrapbook kit, and I'm adding some texture paste. I like the way this gives those words a little bit of dimension. I used a back stitch to stitch along the inside of the 3 words. I used some matching embroidery thread this time. I have blue, green, and yellow embroidery thread, and I will put the numbers to those embroidery threads in the description box in case you're interested in matching them to this collection. Now I'm adding some ATG adhesive to the back of the cut file. I want to attach it down to this really gorgeous piece of paper. I thought this was a perfect background paper to use because just like the cut file, it has all of the colors of the collection, the pinks, the blues, the greens, and the yellows. The stitching adds a little bit of dimension to the back of the cut file, so I didn't pop it up on any foam because it's already slightly popped up off the page. The modeling paste is dry on the words where and are, so I used some gel glue and I tried to attach them down as perfectly as I could on top of the words that are on the cut file. Just tried to line them up as best as I could. The modeling paste dries rather quickly when you use a stencil that has smaller openings, so it didn't take me long before I was able to attach the words down to the layout. I'm using my scissors. I should not be using those detail scissors, but I use them to try to scrape some of the modeling paste off the edge just to give the edge a little bit of a cleaner look. Now I'm using my 20-plus-year-old Creative Memories circle cutters, and I'm cutting out the photo that I'm going to be using on this layout. I love these circle cutters. They're one of my favorite tools. I cut the photo and then I place it on the layout. I like the way the photo looks tucked into the cut file. I also want to give the photo a white mat, so I'm again using the same circle cutter, and I'm cutting the slightly larger size so that there'll be just a little bit of a border around the photo. I like the idea of having a white border all around the photo. I think it helps the photo to coordinate with the cut file that's on most of the rest of the page. And then I cut out one more circle. This is the largest of the circles. I'm also going to layer that behind the photo, but I'm going to use that to anchor down some punched out paper pieces that I'm going to show you in a little bit. Now I'm going to start layering all of these layers together. The cardstock that I use is 120-pound cardstock. It comes in 12-inch by 18-inch pieces. That works out really well for scrapbooking because I can cut a 12 by 12-inch piece out of that paper and use it for a background. And then I have a 6 by 12-inch piece that I could use for other purposes on my layout. And I used to recommend buying a case of it since that was the only way that I could find it for sale. Even though it is kind of expensive because even though you get a lot of paper, several hundred sheets of paper, it's $99 for a case, and I thought that that was a lot, but I thought that it was worth it. But now I cannot get over the price of that case of paper has increased to almost $300. So I do not really know what I'm going to do when I run out of this paper. I've never really used a different kind of paper for white mixed media backgrounds. So I'll have to figure that out when the time comes. Hopefully my paper will last a little bit longer. To add a decorative element around the outside of my photo, I used that piece of paper. You could see it at the top of my mat there. It was 3 different colors. It was orange, yellow, and pink. So I used a scalloped paper punch and I punched out some circles in each of the colors, and then I cut each of the pieces in half, and then I just arranged them alternating the colors all around the outside of that larger circle that I had cut out. And the piece of paper that I cut all of the circles from, that was a piece of packaging from the kit. Some of the 49 and Market packaging is so beautiful, and I find so many uses for it. I had to spend a little bit of time arranging and rearranging those half circles just to make sure that they looked evenly spaced. And then once I was happy with the way they were arranged, I put some adhesive on the back of my photo and I attached it down over those little scalloped circles. And I guess I went a little overboard in punching out circles. I have way more than I needed to make the mat for the photo. I picked out quite a few leaf die cuts from the July kit, and I'm tucking them behind the cut file. I liked the way I had all different colors. I thought that that was nice to go along with the colors that were on the background paper and also in the cut file. You could see at the top and the bottom of the sheet of pattern paper that there are leaves that are printed on the pattern paper. So these leaves layered on top just adds another layer of leaves to the layout. We got so many branches, leaves, flowers in this kit. This is just a small part of what we received. I made this layout after I made some of the other layouts. This might have been the very last layout that I made. And I liked the way, because the background paper and also the paper on the cut file is so varied, pretty much any of the leaves matched in with the colors on the layout. I had 6 very tiny pink flowers left over, and I thought that those would look nice, kind of sprinkled around the flowers that were part of the cut file. And right now I'm just using some ATG adhesive to hold them down. That is not a permanent adhesive for these particular type of flowers, but I thought that I would put them in place and then make sure that that's exactly where I wanted to put them before adding some permanent adhesive to them. I used some vintage photo distress ink and I inked the edges of the leaves. Of course, I could have done this before I put them on the layout, but I felt that this would add a little bit of contrast between the leaves and the background and just make them a little bit more noticeable. And I wasn't sure I wanted to do that until I had them placed on the layout. Luckily, I had the leaves just placed on the layout. I didn't have them attached down. Although even if I did have them attached down, I have been known to pick things up, ink them, and put them back down again. That's not too unusual for me. There were some larger branches that I cut into the individual leaves. I wanted to place them mainly on the left-hand side of the layout. There's not too much room over there, so I really couldn't put an entire branch there without it looking a little bit crowded. I kept rearranging those leaves over to the left until I had them the way that I thought they looked best. I kept moving that pink branch all over the layout. I finally decided to put it at the bottom of the layout. And then I was thinking that because I had the white border around the photo and the white cut file, it would look nice to have a white border around the edge of the entire layout. So I just cut a little bit off of the edges of the paper, and then I mounted on a piece of white cardstock. I decided that I liked where all of the branches were, so I started adding some adhesive to them and attaching them down to the page. These branches are laser cuts from the 49 and Market laser cut pack that we got in the kit, and they are very delicate. They're beautiful, and part of their beauty is that they are very finely made and they're a little bit delicate. So I try to be very careful when I'm applying ATG adhesive. It might be a good idea to try using a wet glue, but I always like to use the ATG when possible because I never know when I'm going to look at the layout and want to move something around. I'm adding some pearls to each of those half circles or little scalloped pieces that go around the photo. And then I wanted to add a little bit of glitter to those flowers and also to the butterflies that are on the layout. So I'm using some Bow Bunny glitter paste. This is the color Sugar, which means it's a transparent glitter paste, but they also have a whole bunch of different colors. I just find that the clear is great because you could layer it on top of anything and it gives it a nice touch of glitter and it makes it shinier. I'm laughing as I'm looking at my hands in this video. My nails have ATG adhesive on them and my fingers have white paint on them. Sometimes when I'm scrapbooking, I just get into this very concentrated state and I don't notice the most obvious things. And sometimes in the process of making a layout, I will have a huge mess surrounding my layout. The layout stays neat, but the area around it can be a disaster. It's easy to clean up afterwards. I just think it would be a little bit better if I cleaned up a little bit more as I went along. I had 3 butterflies left in 3 different colors. I had an orange one, a pink one, and a yellow one. So I spread those around the layout. I inked the edges with the Distress ink in Vintage Photo. I put a little bit of foam behind their wings, and then I added some adhesive to the center of the butterfly and on the 2 pieces of foam, and then I pressed down on the center. That makes the wings pop up just a little bit. Once I had them in place, I added some self-adhesive pearls to the centers. I added some slightly larger pearls on the top of the butterflies and then some smaller ones underneath that. I find tweezers or scissors really helpful for getting a hold of those pearls and getting them in place. I attached the pink butterfly down to the page, and then I was thinking that the butterflies would look nice with a little bit of glitter paste on them also, so I went ahead and added a little bit of the Bo Bunny glitter paste to the butterflies as well. That was the last touch. The layout is complete, and here are some close-ups. I think that layout came together really quickly. The only thing that I think took some time was the stitching on the cut file, but other than that, I think that it was a pretty quick layout. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Please look in the description box for the link to the My Creative Scrapbook website where you could see all of their current kits. I hope everybody has a fantastic day, and I'll see you soon. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.